And we are on to our next repair. We got this DTG. It's DTG with manual lifting over here, and actually this would be the first time we plug it in. From what I can see, this system is completely new, so we won't be having any problems with that. Also here you can see that tanks are brand new, and maybe the ink is poured in, but maybe the cartridges are not, the air is not maybe pushed outside properly, so we're gonna have to check that. But let's see if it's gonna start at all, because from what the owner told us, it seems that the pump is not sucking in the ink, so we're gonna check that right now and to see if everything else checks out okay. So this is already poorly installed, this system. The owner left too much slack on the this. So what we have here is cartridge replacement signal, so we're gonna check if it's gonna there. So what happens when you leave too much slack of the cis over here? And one other thing, before installing new cis, putting in new cis, you should be keeping these pipes straight for a day or two, just to straighten up these pipes a little bit, because if they're twisted and you have these folds on the pipes, that could cause problems also. So let's see if now the things will be okay. We will pull this out also to make more space for the cis to move. And what else we can do, we can tear off a bit of plastic, so now you can see that the pipes are going straight, they are not pushed up. All right, so now it seems okay, maybe even a bit less, like this. All right, I think we're good there, so let's try again one more time. Shouldn't be getting stuck now. There are some weird sounds. We will have to check that out also. So this is how the pipes should be unfolding. All right, so now the same thing. Printer requires a reset of one of the cartridges. And it signalizes that all the cartridges are missing, so probably, yeah, the cartridges are, as you can see, very poorly filled, So this is not 20% probably of cartridges or so. That would have to be sorted out. And also the cartridges were standing up over here. They weren't pushed all the way down. So when you don't hear a click when you're pushing the cartridges down, you won't be the cartridges won't be sitting on the right place for the contact to read the cartridge, each cartridge. So what we have to do is to push it a bit with a bit more power. We need to push it so that we can hear a click. So now it's fixed inside properly the way it's supposed to be and should be before. So probably why this wasn't resetting is that the cartridges weren't pushed all the way down. So let's see, let's try to reset now the cartridges. If it goes to head clean, then the motherboard is okay. So we have to hold this button for 5 seconds. All right, and once more click the ink button. Let's see what's gonna happen now. Okay, so the printer did recognize the cartridges and it automatically starts head clean. So now if the pump is okay, if there's any pressure in the pump, the ink would go through the pipes to the cartridges, but as you can see, nothing's happening. So something is probably wrong with the pump, and that would mean that we will have to disassemble basically all around the chassis and pull the chassis out so we can reach the pump and pull the pump out and check what's wrong with the pump itself. Let's just try one more time. Yeah, probably something is wrong with the pump, sorry. From the looks of it, it seems to be in pretty clean state, but something else is wrong. The capping station is in pretty clean state. Probably the printer wasn't used as much at all, because you can see there are no ink rings on the seal of the capping station. Let's try one more time just to be sure, but I can tell that there's some hardened ink in the pipe, which is the exit of the pump. So probably there's some clogging over there too. So we will have to dismantle everything and pull the chassis out to get to the pump so we can check it. Still, we started one more head clean, but still the air pockets and the ink inside the pipes remain static. So when the printer finishes with the head clean, we will turn everything off and start disassembly. Yeah, nothing happens here at all. So the first thing we have to do is to get to the pump and get the pump out. That's our next problem. Or maybe even the head is clogged, but Usually the head doesn't clock 100%. Something would be moving over here, but I don't think that's the problem. So now we're gonna shut down everything. So we got a couple of screws over here to the main cover, and as you can see the cover is fallen a bit inside, so we're gonna have to fix that also. Something was probably standing on the cover which had more weight to it that the cover can handle, so we're gonna have to sort that out also, but it's not a big deal at the moment. We need to get to the chassis. I have to remove this front cover because actually this is the way that the chassis comes out, so I have to clear the way. Okay, now I can disconnect the cables to the keyboard, and this piece is also in the way. One more from this side. This power button is loose, so we're gonna have to fix that back to its position. And this is the way the chassis is coming out, so now what I have to do is to unplug all the cables from the chassis. Those are the motor that moves the head left and right, and the cable for the pump. We also have this flat cables over here. All of them have to come out. except cable 3. Cable 3 is connected to the paper roll, or the electronics of the paper roll in this case, which is below the power supply, and we have this cable for lifting head up and down during the initialization. All right, and we got a couple of cables here in the sensors for lifting the head up and down. It's a bit crampy over here, but I think it's reachable from the outside. All right, we got that unplugged, so now we have to unscrew the ones that are holding the chassis on the lifting system, lifting mechanism. I hate when the screws escape, but that's okay, it's not gonna go far. We know where it is. So for me to remember what screw was the original one that goes into its position, is best to leave it back at the same position. So I'm gonna do this with this too. Right. And so now all the thing that is left to do is to disconnect the cis over here, because I cannot pull the tanks through this space, but I can pull the cable out. So first you have to release this clamp, pull out the pipes, all right. So you see now the ink is going back to the tank, and we actually want to have it other way around. The ink should be going to the cartridges. Okay, we got that released. We're gonna keep it like this so we don't have any spills over here, or as less is less possible. All right, and we got the chassis out. So now what we have to do is to pull out the pump. So now we have to disassemble the pump from the chassis, and maybe you've seen in some other videos how it's done. It's not that complicated, but there's more work to get to the pump, so you can disassemble these parts like this, where the pump is mounted and the carriers for the pump, then disassembly of the pump itself. And usually if it's a DTG printer, there's a very high possibility that the pump with time will get clogged, and you don't really see much videos on how this is done. If it's a UV printer, it would most likely require the replacement of pump, because we cannot clean the UV ink like on DTG. But in case you have a DTG printer, there's a high possibility that you can still salvage the pump and put the printer back in working order. So now, as you can see, the head is in its position because the brake went up. But if we turn the sprocket of the pump and press the brake over here down, we can move the head outside. And from what I can tell, there's pretty much resistance, and that is because the shaft it has some oil on it, but very little. So this is where you have to be careful with any kind of printers. You have to lubricate this, because when you have a lot of resistance here for the head carrier to slide on the shaft, then you are wasting the bearings from behind, or should I say, it's not originally bearing but something similar. It wears down if you don't have this shaft lubricated. So you have to have this fine machine oil, and just from a few drops here I can instantly feel that the resistance is much lower than before. But also you have to be sure to lubricate everything properly. So you put a drop on the shaft and you wait for it to circle around the shaft, and then you move the carrier or the head left and right, and that's the best way to lubricate the whole thing. So now I can instantly feel that there's much less resistance than before. Yeah, that would be good. Also, one more thing, when you are you don't have to really disassemble the printer to do this, but the principle is the same, because you have to move the head left and right. If the encoder strip gets dirty, you can clean the left side of the encoder strip, but also it's good to clean the right side. And the principle for moving the head in order to clean the right side is basically the same as with this, when we need to do something around the pump. So let's continue with the disassembly over here. Couple of screws on the inside, couple of screws on the outside. You might have seen that in the previous videos. Nothing too complicated. And one more screw over here to the inside. But as I've said, much more work is to get to the pump than disassemble the pump itself. This screw won't budge, but we got it out. Right, so we can set this aside for a moment. What we need to get clean is you can see these pipes are filled with they should be completely transparent. They're not. We need to clean these pipes from the rubberized ink inside, and this is the exit pipe. Also, there's a lot of junk inside. Should be transparent, it's not. And we also have to check this how should I call it, connector for the pipes, where all the pressure crossroads are, and the crossroads for the pipes. And from below we have to check if there's some ink on the wiper, but this seems, for the first glance on it, it seems okay. So now we have to focus mainly on this part. And how do you disassemble that? Also check if the capping station is clean. Maybe a little alcohol wouldn't be too much if we clean that, but that's okay. Also, we have to focus on this part over here. All right, I broke that piece, but it doesn't matter. It's still holding on to the plastic. So you see this is a plug from rubberized ink, and that stuff has to be removed. This is what prevents pump from working normally, because there won't be any pressure on the capping station when it covers the head from below. And we can do that over here because it's the DTG printer. In case of UV printer, the aggressive ink would eat something up, either the pipe or the drum or the, I don't know, you name it. The UV ink is aggressive, and when it makes a hole somewhere on the pump will be of no more use, won't be usable. Okay, so we got this all disassembled. There's a lot of stuff inside this pipe, so you simply have to have some stick or something else that you can push inside. Let me just get rid of that. So I got some rubber on the stick, wind it up, and now I have to get it out. This technique requires some routine, but there's always a first time for everything. So if you have such problems with your printer, you will practice. Now, this is also plug. All this stuff prevents pump from working as it should be working. All right, I think we got it all this time. Okay, so this is just from one pipe what you can get out, and this is how the pipe should really look like. So it's completely transparent, completely. So what this means is that all of these pipes have junk inside, which has to come out also. the same way we've cleaned that other pipe.